In the second module, we will be working with Excel. The first thing that we will do is pivot tables, and the next thing we'll do later is drawing graphs. Right, so pivot tables first. So what is a pivot table? In Excel, you may have these big tables. There's a lot of entries, a lot of columns, and what you may want to do sometimes is sort the data a little bit, pick only some of the columns, group the data by different types, and that's what pivot tables let you do. What it kind of creates is that it keeps your data as is, and it creates kind of virtual sheet, and it collects the data from your big table and allows you to do some processing on it. Here are few features of pivot tables. They are very easy. I hope you'll find them easy. You all have to do is click and drag drop things around. You don't have to type some complicated formula, or you don't have to use Visual Basic macros. It all is very pleasant once you know a little bit about it. And what we'll do is we do a few examples, and in the examples you'll see how things work. You can use pivot tables to quickly explore your data. You can analyze large volumes of data and use some advanced statistic on them. Sometimes it helps you identify different patterns. We will do only Excel, but similar features are available in another software that is competing with Excel typically, because it's a very useful thing to have. So how do you make a pivot table? It's fairly easy. You open your data that you have in Excel, and then you go to the tab Insert and click Pivot Table, and that's all you have to do. Once you create your pivot table, you decide how the table looks like. You decide what is in columns, what is in rows, what are the values that you see, and how do you want to filter your data. So on the right you will see a toolbar where you will see all the columns from the original data, and you can drag and drop the columns into the 4 different boxes, and based on where you drop them, then that's what will be happening on the fly on the left. Right. We'll do a little example. We have here data about Apple Store, and what we'll try to do is open it in Excel and make a pivot table and answer several questions. The first file, Apple Store, and this is how it looks when you open it in Excel. If you want to, you can look at the data, what is there. You have a bunch of columns: price, currency, rating, what age, what type, and each row corresponds to one application that is on the App Store. Right. And if I want to make a pivot table, click Insert, Pivot Table, create pivot table. It will guess all the data that you may want to have in the pivot table. Okay, and there it is. Pivot table is now here on this sheet. You see there is a new sheet, and here are different columns that were corresponding to the columns over here, and you can choose which of them do you want to use in the pivot table. So maybe prime genre, I have it, put it in the rows, and maybe we'll put price in values. So here it is saying for each genre sum of all the prices of the apps that are listed on the App Store. Now that we have a pivot table, we will try to answer these questions using the pivot table, and hopefully it will go quickly and it will not be difficult questions to answer once the pivot table is in. It would be best if you tried to do it yourself, because you learn best while practicing. I'll do it on the next slide for you. We have the pivot table for the App Store, and we would like to answer different questions. So the first one, what's the most or least common genre of app? So we have the genre in a row, and let's say maybe we can do ID, and we don't want to sum them. Here unfortunately, if I click, the field settings is on the very right bottom. You want to count the number of ID, so whenever there is ID it counts as one. But it will also count how many of them are there. Yeah, now you can have a guess which is the most common. Games, least common, maybe catalogs. If we are lazy to look at things, you can sort, and now catalogs 10, games 3862. So sorting by different columns makes life easy. Right. What genre of app receives the most least ratings on average? So what's the right column? So we maybe need to have the number of ratings. Maybe that would be the correct thing to look at. So rating total. I will remove the IDs. So now I have the ratings. I don't want to sum them. I go to the field properties, and I want to do average. Okay. And sort it. Right. So medical apps receive on average 600 ratings. Social networking receive 45,000 and a little bit of ratings. Right. What genre of app is the most expensive? So I guess we don't need the ratings. We need what do we need? We need price. Let's look at price. And I would like to know what is the most expensive. So here again I do field settings, and I would like to get maximum of all the numbers. So maximum, I guess there is something in education that is very expensive. We don't even have to sort it. Right. What genre of app is on average most expensive? So instead of maximum of price, we do the field settings and do average. Oh, it's hard to see, so we sort it by average of price. Most expensive are medical apps. Right. Which genre of apps has the highest average user rating? Highest average user rating. So what would be user rating? User rating, I guess. Let's do user rating. user rating. I don't want, so I can get rid of the price. Yeah, price. User rating and field setting and average. Hop. And we sort it by user rating, and productivity tools have highest user ratings. Catalogs, they are not very popular, I assume. Now, another question. Are apps for adults 17 plus on average more expensive or cheaper? So we can look at the price. We don't need the price, right? So price, sum of price, average, we don't need this, and what we need is a price on average, right? So I'll do average, field setting, average, okay. So and maybe my price. Right. So here are is it this price, and if we want to see are adult apps for adults on average more expensive or cheaper, one could try to look where are the content rating. So content rating, and you can put it in filters if you want, and here you can 17 plus. Now you see only the entries that have 17 plus, or you can select all of them, and now you see how the price is changing. So one way you can do is filter it if you want, so you can see how the prices change for different categories, or maybe you can do content rating in the rows and get rid of prime genre, and we can get all of them. So looks like 4 plus are most expensive. I guess no, 9 plus, 9 plus. No. So if you want to have app that has a lot of money generated by the user, you should have them 9 plus. Right, and what genre of app are typically the smallest? Alright, size bytes. I have to size bytes. I will have to do it average, field settings, average, price toss away. I guess we have to put the prime genre back into the rows. See, if you have more things in the rows, it splits it up. And then content rating you can toss. Average size of bytes, and we can sort it. Right, so catalogs are the smallest, and medical apps are the biggest. I hope it showed you a little bit how one can do few things. You can change what is shown in the values, and we did just a little bit of a filter where you can filter which data are shown. Here you can sort and also filter. In the next example, we will look at the data set of large companies. There is a link where you can download it, and we will try to use the pivot table to see which sector has the most employees among profitable companies and not profitable companies. Data open in Excel, and we are trying to find which sector has the most employees among profitable and non-profitable companies. Right. So, data, how does it look? I have companies, stickers, I have sector, if they are profitable, yes or no, and we have a bunch of other data. Right. So, let's see. I will do insert, pivot table, create pivot table, hop, bam, there it is. Alright, so what do we need to find? We need to find number of employees. What is number of employees? There is a column called number of employees. Right, so we'll throw in number of employees. Did I pass it already? Number of employees. Right. Next thing, we will need to know if it is profitable. Profitable, yes, no. And we need to find what is the sector. So what is the sector? It's called sector. Alright. Sector. Alright. So maybe profitable will be a good filter. Sum of number of employees. So profitable, I want to say yes. I want to pick the profitable ones. And which sector has the most employees? So now I will sort by the sum of number of employees. So the most employees among profitable companies are in retailing. So, and how is it in non-profitable companies? Profitable? No. So most companies that are not profitable and employ people and are in technology. Technology are losing money. And you are welcome to try to explore other questions that you may find interesting about this data set. Next data set we'll explore is about shootings by police. It is a data set that may be a little bit disturbing. It allows to show several very nice features of the pivot tables in Excel, so we'll use it. And we will open it, and we'll try to look at a few different things, and that is which state has most police shootings. You can try to guess if it is surprising or not, and what are the people armed with, if there is a shooting involved, and then we will try to analyze what happens as the years are changing. Data opened in Excel. So here you have entries, and each entry is one incident. You can see where it happened, if the person was armed with someone, there is a position, some profile of the person who was shot. Right. So let's try to do the pivot table. Insert pivot table. I'll do out of all of it. Right. Which state has the most shooting? So we will need to count each entry. For that, the ID may be good, and we will need state. I don't want to sum the IDs, that makes absolutely no sense. And if you do field settings and you count them instead, then it will say for each state how many entries are there. Here we do sort by count, bam, that's it. So in the data we have more shootings came from California, Texas second, and then Florida. And yeah, Iowa is somewhere here, far away. It's good that we are far away. And is it surprising? Well, I guess if you have state that has many people, what do you think? Will the number be higher or lower? Right. Where most short people armed and by what? So we need to find which is the column, I guess armed with the arm, so I will look at armed with. I will get rid of the state, and now it shows how many times was each object used. I will sort it. Alright, so most often, and there was a shooting, the other party had guns, often they just had knives, or they had nothing at all, or who knows what they had. Okay? Sometimes even a replica of a knife. So, and another thing we would like to do is what happens over time. So, if we put in date, what happens when you put in date? I don't think I need to have the armed with, remove field. Right, and now for each date we have how many incidents happened on that particular day. I will try to make it a little bit less confusing. So what you can do is you can do this group selection, and you can say that you will combine them, and what matters is the year. Right, so now it's combined by the years, and so for each year it counts how many incidents happened during that year. Yes, you can, maybe there was a little dip at 2016 and it's slowly increasing, looks like. You can also ask other question, and this is the group selection. Right? You can say the grouping was by years, but you can also ask by month. Right? And now it goes over all the years and collects all entries for each month, so we can see which month is most well, dangerous. I don't know if it's the right word, but in March a lot of incidents happened. September not as many incidents happen. Next we will try to create a plot that shows the ratio of armed and unarmed incidents. To do that, we will need to create a new column in the data that is derived from the previous column, and we will have to use some function XLOOKUP to move us to rename what is in the columns. The first thing we'll have to do is to create the two extra columns with function XLOOKUP. We'll use one column to create 0, 1 column that is saying indicator variables, and then we will use other column to translate the 0, 1 into a string. We will try to look at the data and create a new column. So here is the column armed with, and we would like to have 1 if the person is unarmed and 0 in all the other cases. So what we will do is we can try to create new column, let's call it unarmed, and you'll have to use a little bit of Excel here. So I will write here, I would like to count if, and the argument is E2, it's the correct thing, E2, and if the string is unarmed. Now it filled it only for the first entry. If you here double click the dot, it will fill the whole table. Now you have here the armed and unarmed, and if you add it to the pivot table, you get these zeros, 1 thing that you can add. What we'll try to do is do this XLOOKUP. In the XLOOKUP, we can translate these 0 and 1s into strings. Okay? So you kind of create a little dictionary of what is what. So I will create a dictionary here on the side. So 0 means armed and 1 means unarmed. And I will create one more column, and one more column I will call it unarmed footer as a string. Right, and here I would like, if here was 0, to write armed, and if 1, write unarmed. So how do I do it? I write here that XLOOKUP. There was some older functions like VLOOKUP or things like that. So XLOOKUP is the most recent one. We want to look at this thing and say, we look at W column, and then we look at X column, and it will try to find 0 here and replace it by what's on the other column. So it translates 0 to armed and 1 to unarmed. Now if you take do these dots, double click, it's all filled in. I made here an empty column between this translating table and my big table. It's because if I now try to create a pivot table out of this, it will automatically detect an end at U. If I put this right next to it, it would try to include them into the pivot table as well. I guess it's not a mistake if it had, but it's cleaner this way. Right, hop, bam, I created the new pivot table. You can see that I already had my old pivot table here. Doesn't matter, you can have many pivot tables over the same data. Right. So now I'll try to prepare the data, see if it is there. Unarmed string, yeah, it is there, and we also have the year ready. So we have all the data to create the picture. Extra columns, unarmed, armed, and now we try to do the pivot table. Insert tables, pivot table, all the way to whatever. We can create it all the way to up. Right. Didn't work automatically, so sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Alright, we have the string, and I'm interested in date. Did I already miss it? Date. Right, and this looks messy. I will put the unknown strings to columns. Date. Looks like everything is there twice. I will do group by years. Okay. Right, so we have here the years, armed, unarmed. There is nothing in there. We should probably put their IDs and field settings. For the ID, I want count of the IDs. Right. Column labels. I don't think I need the blank ones. Right. Right. So we know in which year how many were armed and unarmed. Now I'd like to take the picture. We can throw in here a pivot chart. Up, and there it is. Pivot chart is in. It's almost like the one in slides. What we can try to do is try to change it a little bit. Design, change chart type, columns, up, like this. Yeah, and it's almost like the one in the slides now, maybe even better because the blanks are missing. The same data can be used for another exercise with using XLOOKUP, where we look at the race of the people involved in the incident. The race comes there as a letter, so XLOOKUP can be used to translate it into something that is more sensible for people to read, or more understandable. Then you can try to see what are the trends in the reporting. Second example for XLOOKUP function. So here we have the column race. I would like to make it a little bit easier to understand what is what. So I have here copy paste. Oh, well, I don't have it anymore. Little table that has the letters, and for each of them it says what is the explanation. So let's try to do the XLOOKUP. I'll create a new column, XLOOKUP, and I am trying to look up column 2 and lookup arrays W and X and okay. And if not found, I will write other as well. There is nothing. Right. And now I copy this everywhere. Right. So we have a long table. Everything got inserted. I'll try to insert pivot table. About this pivot table up to T. Good. New worksheet. And what do we need? We will need the string. Let's put it as a column. We will need the date. I want to. Oh, it's already grouped by years. Well. Group by group selection by years. Okay. Here I would like to have some numbers in there, so I put their ID. Some of IDs makes no sense. if you go to the field settings and you just do count to do it. So now here it is, and we can insert pivot chart here, similar like we had in the slides, and change the design of the chart like this, so you can see what's happening to the total number and what is happening to the proportions. You can see like this. Interesting is which is the most growing group. It's the group other. So looks like the data is just not being reported. If you want to remove the other, you can remove it. Maybe you have to filter it up. Now it's removed. So now it's only the data that are actually present. So the chart updates dynamically as you update the pivot table.